type and then we'll just save it?
Yeah, that's fine. No matter.
Oh, gosh, I don't know what to do with myself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share, and we'll go ahead and get started. If you want to go ahead and get started, and I'll share it out.
Okay. All right, guys. So, for most of you who don't know me, I'm fairly new still to our chats. I am half Aztec Indian and half Spaniard. My father's family's from Spain, and but I grew up in the United States. I would be considered to be a Mexican American. I have. We're gonna leave it there. Now, me and Mary have talked about this, especially when the movie came out, things like that. But I am one of those children who got that story passed down from generation to generation to generation. I'm a little watered down in the Mexican Indian things. I'm not my Spanish isn't that well, and I know very little um, dialect. But I remember the story when I was a kid because, of course, I used to have nightmares. But um, my grandparents actually told me this story, and then my mom told me kind of like the breakdown because it was kind of broken up Spanish for me because I understand a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to tell you what I was told, and then I'm going to tell you what I found when I looked it up. So as a kid, I think I want to say I was like 12 or 13. My dad was still alive, and he used to take us fishing and things like that. But for some reason, we didn't go to too many fishing trips where we stayed overnight. I didn't understand at first, and then I don't know what happened. We were having a conversation with my grandparents, and my grandma said something like "La Llorona," and I'm like, "Well, what's that?" Because I'm in the table having coffee with my grandpa and stuff. And my mom's like, "Oh no, the kids don't know about that." And I'm like, "Well, who's that?" Because we all hear about the boogeyman, which is we call it in Spanish the cucuy, which is the boogeyman.
Yeah.
And my grandma's like, "Well, they're old enough; they could know." So here I am, like, "Well, tell me, right?" And um, I think my grandpa was the one that left the table. He was like, I don't want to hear this, whatever, right? He leaves. Because my
Yeah.
grandpa used to have coffee after dinner, whatever. Well, the story was that no, when we, children, they usually tell children this most because children wander off. But the real story that my grandma told me, I remember her telling me, do you know the reason why we don't go out to the lake at night or we don't let y'all by the creeks or anywhere near a body of water at night? And I'm like, well, we're supposed to be inside, of course, we're kids. She's like,
Right.
yeah, but when you go camping or when you go somewhere, you're visiting somewhere, you're going to the beach, we don't ever stay late, right? And I'm like, no. It starts to click. And she says, it's because there's a woman, a ghost. It's a ghost, they say. But it's proven that this event actually happened. And she's telling me in Spanish, and my mom's translating, and I'm kind of just trying to understand both of them at the same time. And I'm like, okay, come on, give me the juice, give me the juice. And the
Yeah.
story goes from what I heard from my grandma was that this woman was in love with her husband, and they had, I think, 4 or 5 children. They were a
Mhm.
Mexican family, and this man served in the Mexican army.
Yeah.
And of course, like a Mexican, like an army man, he comes and goes as he needs to go, whatever. But like they were in love. They were. I mean, it's in every story that I've ever heard about they always talk about how much in love they were and how they had this many kids because they were so in love, and he worked so hard for his family, and
Yeah.
the amount of love that they had was very talked about when the story's talked about, right? Okay, so they have this family, they're much in love, he's, like I said, an army, I wouldn't say he was like high ranked, he was just like a soldier.
Yes.
Well, apparently his general, I guess the guy he served, winds up having a daughter who sees him, in, I guess, in interactions with her father, and she tells her dad that she wants to marry this man.
Yeah.
And of course, his general knew he was married with a family. But instead of saying no to his daughter, he goes to the man and gives him a proposition. And he tells him, "My daughter wants to marry you. You're one of my best guys. I want you to be her husband. I need you to leave your family and marry my daughter."
Right.
And of course, this man is distraught. Like, like, can you imagine? And so he decides, I guess in that moment, he was serving them away from his family while this is going on. So this is what the general tells him. You need to leave. My daughter wants you. I expect you to do what I tell you to do. Leave your family and marry my daughter. And I don't know how long the time went or how much time he gave him to think about it, but I know that in that conversation there was something about how he said, you don't. He pretty much gave him like an ultimatum. Either you come nicely and you marry her, or I kill your whole family and then you still have to marry her because I tell you what to do.
I'm the
So this
boss.
guy decides, instead of killing my whole family, because they did tell me they were going to kill the wife too, instead of
Yeah.
killing the whole family and telling or going back and telling them and then having this big old thing about, he just made the decision to go home and leave his wife. So he went home, left his wife, didn't give her no reason.
What a
From
piece
what
of shit.
I'm from what my story from my family was that he didn't really give her a reason. He just told her, "I'm leaving. I'm not coming back. That's it." And for the way that the family explains in these stories about how much they loved each other, for him to cut her off like that, I can only imagine how distraught she was because she honestly believed that they were in love.
Yeah.
So the story goes that he left the family, kids and all, went this way, married her, and was there.
Yeah.
Now the what the story says, because there's everybody's story about it, is that what my grandma told me was that he did leave the woman and the kids, did marry his general's daughter, never
Right.
looked back, but that they say about this man that his heart ached for his wife, but he never said nothing. He stayed with her.
Oh.
So during this time where he's living his new life with this new woman and over here with the general's daughter, this woman is very distraught about her husband. She has no husband now. She has no father to her children. She's depressed. She's just all these emotions.
Oh man,
And
what a
apparently where there, I guess then you would have called it like a village or an area where they lived.
yeah.
Where they lived, there was a body of water near there. A lot of times back in the day when you live on land, you always, kind of found a place near water, clean water.
Mhm.
And so I'm assuming that during the time when he left and he's going through this and she's just trying to figure it out with all the kids he left her, she goes like, I guess silently crazy, I guess you could say. And she just couldn't stand it anymore. She was suffering. They explain it in Spanish. Their words are very meaningful when they say it, but in English I can only say that she was suffering mentally and just like in her heart for love. And then she has no father for these children, and she just decides that she's going to end her children's suffering of not having a father and having to explain to them why this happened. And she takes them down to the lake. She drowns all of them, and then she kills herself. And so that's the story. That's
Mhm.
the story that you can probably trace back to the general, the general's daughter, the wife, and the children. That's the basic story, right? But in Mexican families, they're Catholic, and there's spiritual stories that go too, right?
Right.
So this story has like an extra story to it that some people take on and some people don't. But I'm going to tell you what it is. So after this really happens, she drowns her children, she kills herself. The story said that the my great 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 grandma, who was like, I guess you would call like one of the spiritual leaders, spiritual women
Yes.
in the culture. They say, everybody talks about, Indians talk about spirit realms. Religion talks about demons and that type of spiritual stuff.
Right.
So the story that I heard as an Indian woman and a Catholic growing up in Catholicism, the
Yeah.
story never changed. But for me, this is the story that I got: is that when
Right.
this woman killed herself, the story is that her spirit went up to the Creator or God, and that she was by herself, and God asked her, "Where are your children?" Giving her the opportunity to confess what she had done and ask for forgiveness. And instead, she lies and says, "I don't
She
know.
lied out
I,
her
I
ass.
don't know where my
But,
children
but did she
are."
lie or did she like forget? You know,
No, the
like,
story is that she
oh
lied
wow.
to God. Yeah, the story is that she lied to God, and when He gave her the opportunity to tell the truth and ask for forgiveness, and she lies to Him and says, "I don't know where my kids are. I don't know." You know,
Um,
um, and as the story goes, spiritually, what they tell you is that God gives her the opportunity to say what she did to him, what she did to his children or her children, and give her the opportunity to repent so He could let her into heaven, forgive her, and she lies. She lies because she's ashamed of what she did, and in her soul, she can't bring herself to tell God what she did to his children. And so he only asks her once, and then he says, "Okay, well now for an eternity, you're going to walk along the earth of waters, by the waters, and you will
mhm.
search for your children. For you, that will be your punishment for eternity." Because he gave her the opportunity to tell the truth. She lied to his face, and he had already knew, of course, as the creator, what
Right.
happened,
Right.
because he knew she killed them first before she killed herself. And so because she lied and she continued to try to get out of the situation, um, he pretty much banned her from heaven and told her that for an eternity she would always walk along the waters looking for her children. And that was the story that we had heard. Um, I've heard it from my family, and I've always asked other people who've heard about it, and it's always the same thing. The general's daughter got the husband. She killed her and her children. She met the creator, which they consider to be God. And he asked her, she lied, and now she roams the earth, not just the body of water where she killed her children, but earth around the waters. And it said that people who have been by water at night, like big bodies of water, have heard like a crying woman. But this is the
Yes.
thing. They call her the weeping woman because there's a difference between when you cry, oh, I stubbed my toe, and when you weep from your soul. And
Yeah.
I think that it's such a spine chilling thing when you think about it, when people actually tell you, because I've met people who like to be in the outdoors and have
Mhm.
heard a weep. And they say it's not like anything you've ever heard. It's like a painful cry. And so that's a lot of the reasons why our families in the Latin culture tell us that we can't be outside at night near bodies of water because they're
Yeah.
worried. And then, it's not like in some more darker cultures of the Latin families of who do the voodoos and stuff like that, you'll
Yeah.
hear that it's because she could possibly drown you. I never heard that. I've
I've
never
heard
heard that here.
that.
I've never heard that from certain families that I know of. But in certain areas, it's a story that they use to scare people.
Well, that's
But I
around.
I never heard that she was going to drown anybody. I just heard that going by those big bodies of water that you would hear a crying woman, and it's the most scariest, ugliest thing that you could hear.
Yes.
So
Well, it's like I've heard like the story like she left her husband, but I also heard the story of the drowning. What was the other one? There was one other one that stuck out. I was like, oh, I remember that. Um,
it seemed like over the years too, like over the decades and things like that, I have seen stories of women who have lost it and killed their children via drowning. And then
yeah,
they lived. This woman happened to kill herself as well. And
yes,
the way they explain it in Spanish is that she was so just wanting to end the suffering, so she killed them first and then killed herself. She
yeah,
just let herself just drown. But over the decades, like we said, like we've heard different stories about types of encounters that have happened in similar ways, but not the same. Like, because I definitely remember hearing about a woman drowning her children and then putting them back in the bed so they could
ooh.
sleep. I remember hearing that about a woman. I forgot her name. I think it was in the early 90s. She
There
was going
was
through
a woman.
depression.
Yeah, we're actually at some point. I really want to do that story
We
because
can. Yeah, 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 we can.
I was like, I remember, but I remember it being like later on, like a really big like mental health thing. Like she
Yeah.
really wasn't just served
Yeah,
justice.
like they show her pictures over the years of like a whole year on how she's just like was so good and happy after her marriage, and then like she had kids and started like being stressed out, and the
But she
husband was
didn't
trying to get the
really,
mom to come help, and
yeah,
her mental health just depleted. Yeah.
like she didn't even want her last child. Like she was done, but he was
Yeah.
like, no, you need to have another child. It's
Yeah.
like,
I remember
ooh,
that story. Yeah, that one. But I mean, like over history, like I've definitely seen similar situations. Like I'm sure that this story, like they call it a folklore. Because
yeah,
back then nothing was written on paper, it was scrolls and those things, but, like, the story is, like, if you look up the general, and I'm really upset, guys, sorry that I was just kind of just so excited to give you the ghost story that, I couldn't find the right story that said the general's name. Because I remember when I was younger and I was doing the research after my parents and my grandpa and everybody, I asked everybody in my family about it, right? Like, I was like, "Are y'all lying to me?" But they're like, "No, it's actually a real story, like, you can trace the general, you can trace, the guy, and you can trace the general's daughter." Um, and then around that time where you find them in the paperwork, you'll find that the murder happened.
his name
So it's
is.
cohesive.
I
Yeah.
have it. Okay, his name Enrique Monteverde. He did the Civil Wars, and then he was in the early stages of Alzheimer's, and he was guilty of genocide. Um, yeah, and then his conviction is swiftly overturned on judicial technical difficulties. Apparently, I thought it was Gyro, but it's Enrique Monteverde. Sorry if I'm
Well, I
saying
know
that.
like there have been like we talked about like the sightings and things like that. There have been multiple different areas in. I mean, you hear about it more in Mexico and in South Texas, but like
Yes.
um there have been people who have like I guess now you would say posted or have talked about it. Back in the day, it was like ear hearing by ear, you know. But like
Yes.
you'll even now like that we have social media, you'll hear so many stories about people in random places by waters that aren't
Mhm.
anywhere near each other, but they
Oh my
hear these like
goodness.
screaming wails
That's
of a woman and they're like they get scared. Like some of these people record it, you know what I mean? Like, but I mean, I don't think I mean, I'm me and you, Mary, are one of those people who we'll go to the asylums, we'll go to the houses, we'll do, you know, cleansings, we'll do, you know, things like that. Like, but that's one of the things I think that we've never done that I've never even brought up to you, just because I know that how horrifying that they say that these screams are. Like, I
I've
would never want to be like, "Hey, Mary, you want to go camping and look for Llorona?" Because this is the
I
thing, the movie is completely different from what we had learned as kids, like in the you know the not tradition, but in the sense of learning, you know, generation by generation.
yeah.
She never came up out of the water. She never followed you home. She was never no like in the movie. It kind of just it's extra, of course, for the scary movie. In the movie, they kind of
Like
see kind
thriller.
of make it look like she can follow you places, or like she was like brought home with you, or like you know what I'm saying.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
really not like that. It's literally like in our culture, what we know is that she sticks by the water because she's condoned to that water. She has to be
Yes.
by the waters at all times looking for her children. So, like, I've never heard anybody who has seen a sighting, or I'm sorry, who has been at a sighting where they heard her. Um,
No,
they've
Chris.
seen her, but they've seen like on the opposite side of water, they may have seen somebody that looked like that was in a dress, but like a dark figure. I've heard that they heard it, but they didn't see it, but they
Yeah.
heard it like it was almost so like it was like it made the hairs get on the back of their neck up, you know.
Yes.
So I mean, there's multiple different, you know, experiences that people have said. I'm not in a hurry, but I would go for, you know, if you guys wanted
I
us to
feel
go, I would
like
go.
I would try to be stupid and like play a trick. Like late, I could see myself laying in grass going, ah, and then I'd be like peeing my pants because I've
You
scared
know, I have a
myself.
feeling that if we ever went near that body of water at night, because I've been by water at night and it is kind of scary sometimes, depending on where you're at. But I have a feeling that you would take off running and I'd have to find you.
I'd be like, I'm in the water, help me.
Oh my God, Chris says, let's go. Oh my gosh. Like, but you know, growing up, it's one of those things that you hear parents saying to keep their kids from wandering, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, this actually happened, you know, and I wouldn't be surprised if we heard those screams or wails or I mean they call it like when you say the llorona, like I talked to you about this earlier, llorona, like if I could break it down into the most layman terms in English, it's the crybaby, but a girl. Like, so you know how we have girl and boy words, right? Okay, so in Spanish you would have llorón is what they would call a crybaby who's a boy. Llorona would be a crybaby girl. But seeing that this was a woman, there's no like you can't say la señora llorona, la llorona señora, because señora is considered to be a woman, right? An older woman. And it's a sign of respect. Here it's just like she's the llorona. She's the one who killed her kids and she cries all the time now for her eternal damnation. But
I'm gonna try and
yeah,
download the screen because somebody did get it on camera. Let me see if I
yeah.
can download it on here if you are.
Yeah, growing up for me, I wasn't really like we went camping and all those things, but we were never near the body of water. Like my dad would take us through the water during the day, we'd do stuff, fishing, all that stuff, and then we'd be like way far away from the water. My dad was never one to like tell us folklores and things like that, but my mom's mom did, you know.
Yeah.
At first it was just to kind of entertain the kids and here and there kind of scare them, but like when I started to ask my dad, he said, "Yeah, I know those stories. I just don't tell you those because I don't want y'all to feel fear when we do things like that as a family, you know."
Oh my
He's like,
god.
"Dad protects you." So
Oh my god, it's loading. I want to turn on a light though. I'm gonna play it, but I'm gonna turn on a light because I'm a clicking shit like that. Like I didn't even read the chat. I know there's a new message. Hold on. Hold on, please.
I'm still here with you guys. There it is. There it is. There it is. Let there be light for Miss Mary.
Let's go. Oh wow, I look like crap. It's okay. Okay, here we go. It's fine. Y'all ready? Okay.
¿Dónde está mi hijo? Ay, mis hijos.
I don't think that's
¿Dónde están mis hijos?
I don't think that's it. We're gonna delete that. Wow, I fucked up.
No, it's okay. It's
Hold on,
okay.
there's four of them, so I'm like, let's try them. That's loading. Oh, that's loading. Oh, thanks. Oh, hey, where was this taking place? Do you remember?
So originally it was in Mexico. I don't know where exactly. I don't want to say they're wrong, but I know it was like in like not old Mexico. It would be considered to what we would call Mexico now in the United, like separated from the United States,
This
somewhere
time
down in that area.
reading a story in honor of Carly. Oh, that's not it either. That was. Oh my god, I'm fucking this shit up bad.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm
Well, it
stuck.
definitely happened towards the like so if we were to look at a map and we were to see old Mexico, it would definitely be down towards the south of the Mexico. Now it's considered to be just Mexico to us because we have the border, right? But that's why you hear a lot about her more in the South Texas area. South they say Southwest, but I've been Southeast and still heard it near that body of water. So I think it's just one of those things that we know for sure was under Texas, somewhere in that area, like further down. But you hear about the story very bluntly and very knowingly about being the sightings and things like that. You hear that in that South Texas area.
Yeah, here's one. I don't know if it's the real thing, but
We'll try. Let's see.
see if I can download it. Try it free. I don't want to sign up for anything.
That's okay.
I literally don't. Okay, I'll just cancel.
Anytime I've heard about her sightings or her like people hearing her, they never say she speaks. It's just crying, like a very hurtful cry. But it is a very distinct type of cry. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like if one would hear it, they would know that that's what the cry is.
Yeah, it's not gonna let me do it.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I just want to tell our viewers to like we're not here to spook you. We're just here to give you a ghost story. But this story actually
Ooh.
has the the real things to back it up. Now, where she is at any given time is none of my business. But if you are near a body of water at night, please remember that if you hear something that sounds a little weird, back up from away from the water. I've never heard that she attacks anybody, but I do hear that she shows herself. So, in the form of a black woman who almost looks like she has a black wedding dress, but not so long. So, I'm just telling you guys what I know and what I was told, but what I know for sure is I do not go near big bodies of water. I don't even like to go near a creek at night, okay, guys? Like,
Yeah, because I'm
that's
like,
just coming
what if
from
there's
me,
just
but
something in there? I won't go. I won't go in the water if it's like. I won't even go in beach water, like unless I
yeah,
got
for
five
me,
people near me, so I know if there's gonna be something in there, they're gonna get first. Is that
yeah,
wrong? I'm like, ooh, I don't know. But there's two types of people. There's lake people and there's beach people. I know I'm kind of getting off topic, but it's true.
I feel
Um,
like I'm just a little too country. I'm like, body of water, woo! And during
yeah,
the day, at night, I'm not going nowhere near that stuff.
I'll go fishing. I'm okay. I
Hmm.
like night fishing.
Yeah, that would be cool. Little lantern.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for my ghost story, guys, for our ghost story for tonight. We talked about La Llorona, and I just want to say viewer discretion is advised. I am not advising you to go out near the dark waters and look. I am just letting
It's
you know what the story was in our family, what's been passed down to me, what Miss Mary's heard, and kind of just give you an idea of what's really, really happened to her.
so
I feel
we are.
like it's just a tragic story, but you know.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right.